Gentlemen, I think we'll start the official Zoom meet. Welcome, great to see you all. And uh, tonight we're going to be looking at period vehicles, primarily of the era, 1860s, 70s, what have you. And Don Ball and I are on, and of course, I welcome any of your suggestions or insights as to how I do this presentation. Matter of fact, I just finished it as you were still talking with each other. Right. So, yep. And I'm just going to pull up a shared screen here. Boom, boom, boom. Current slide. Here we go. Cool. All right. So the reason I was working on this so late, I was just talking to DC. So if it doesn't look right, you can blame it partially on him.
Nice try, Tom.
Right. No, actually, he gave me some ideas, and I thought, wow, I could probably organize this differently. So it's basically in three segments, and they're fairly quick. So it'll be looking at some prototype, and then civilian, and then looking at models. And I've the amazing amount of manufacturers I uncovered going through all of this. So I'll have that to share with you as well. Most of this will be in HO scale, of course, but some of the manufacturers do model O and N, and I'm sure between Charlie and Joel, you might even have some other suggestions. So with that, when you look at military vehicles, I mean, some of these are the ones that we're probably most familiar with, right? Your Ford, your battery wagon, Limber caisson, the pickup truck of the era, the supply wagons. This is the only thing unique about this really is how you could label the canopies. This was a headquarters baggage wagon. Then you had your classic ambulances, and then of course there were the balloon wagons, right? So less familiar is the two-wheeled ambulance,
Right.
a signal corps wagon, and when I found this, the only thing it said underneath was lances. I was like, lances. So I haven't been able to figure out the two on that. When I get to that slide, when we get into that, if anybody has any thoughts, I'd be glad to hear them. Then you have your pontoon wagons. These would have had all the slats or the planks. And then on top on some of these would have been a toolbox for all their material, their supplies for tools and what have you. Classic pontoon wagon. And then this one I found interesting is a coffee wagon. And
Right.
it says Christian Commission, US. So I imagine if you have a reasonably secure area on your layout that is union occupied, that could be an appropriate vehicle. Some of the civilian wagons or vehicles, these would have been ones that, of course, would just transport people. You had a two-wheeled kind of buggy. There's your four-wheel classic and stagecoach. And then the commercials, heavy freight, your buckboard, a delivery or a wagon. You had your photographer's wagon, and you had a couple of versions of wagons that would haul cotton. And here's one where Jerry actually showed us a while back when he was going through the cotton industry, and this is a wagon just pulled up on a weigh scale. So I'm going to start off with a couple of things I did with respect to military vehicles, and what I was looking for is a way to attach the horses, because with most of the sets that you can get from Musket Miniatures and others, the horses are kind of just standing alone. There's nothing connecting them. And I thought of maybe thread or what have you, but in the beginning I was thinking, something flat that would kind of replicate leather. So I chose flat brass. And what I was originally doing was drilling holes in the rumps and in the shoulders, and then just filing it down and jamming in the pin. This was crazy. So I would instead just grab the flat wire with 2 pliers and twist it just to flatten it and just do some CA glue. Put your cross piece in, bang. And then with a little bit of paint, it looks pretty good, you know, like a leather harness, and it makes the visual more appealing and more realistic, authentic. And then I took it a little step further. What I didn't realize is that what actually connects the harness to the frame is this little piece of chain. So I found some chain, although it's a bit oversized. I added that to all the limbers as well, right? And then there's your harness. These are all Musket miniatures. And then I have this as the Ausie mystery caster. Many years back, there was a fellow from Australia that was casting the forge and the battery wagon. And then at a certain point, he couldn't do it anymore, and I forget why not. But they were beautiful models in resin. And he sent me several pair just to see how it would look, and to send him some photos. And I put it all together, sent him photos, and then he tells me he's not making them anymore. I was like, you know, it's like somebody feeding you drugs, and all of a sudden they go away. You know, your supplier leaves you. Evacuating the wounded. So when you think about hospital wagons, I mean, there are so many possibilities for scenes, right? And then what I was looking, actually found there was a mark set done that included a hospital wagon, O scale. But I think this was pretty much off the charts in terms of what they were asking for this. I think it was on eBay, but it was a pretty detailed model. And then of course, N scale has a version. I don't know who manufactures this. Would you know, Joel?
That one looks like the GHQ.
Is it? Okay.
I believe. And GHQ probably has the finest mules and horses. Have both a 6-hitch mule and a 4-hitch horse.
Nice. Yep. Then you have the balloon wagons. So Thaddeus Lowe's, and of course I don't have any of this. I wouldn't have any of this in my area. But what I did find is something from Civil War Toys, Soldiers. And this is an O scale version of the wagon, eBay. But I think this was like a crazy price as well. But I thought it was, you know, it's a pretty good model for an O scale. And if someone was looking to do any kind of vignette, it serves the purpose. And then we get into the pontoons. I had a guy that was doing some work for me, and I was going to have him do some pontoons, and he did. But what I didn't realize, he did these. He didn't do the wood version. He did the canvas version. But they came out pretty nice. It's all a frame. That's all he did. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. But this is a classic pontoon wagon. What I love about the diagram is it at least gives you a frame of reference if you wanted to either scratch build or modify some kind of wagon that you have to build your own. And this is the what they call the chess wagon. I don't know why they called it that. Maybe it had something to do with how they had to lay out all the planking, but that's what these carried, all the planks. I discovered these models. This is pontoons from a fella named Floating White Bear. And he cast his own. And then I thought, I saw these too that he did. And these evidently, and LeBron, you might want to weigh in on this one. He, in his little storyline about these pontoons, he says the Confederates had metal pontoons. I never heard that before. So this is his version that he cast. They're very cool looking, but I have never heard of that. LeBron, does that sound at all reasonable to you that the Rebs would have had metal pontoons?
It's not beyond possibility. I've never heard of it. The South did, pioneered the submarine and a few other items made out of metal.
Right. Yep. I could see that.
It would seem very inefficient to me because the wood ones, you could stack half a dozen pontoons on one wagon, and these you have pictured here, it's one per wagon.
Right. Yep. Yep. Although when I was looking, yeah, I that's a good question, Don. From the images that I saw with pontoons, there was usually only one per wagon of the wood ones. I've never seen one where they stacked them. But anyway, that's something to consider. Oh, what's this image down here? Oh, I think these are from the one on the bottom right is Shapeways. And then this, I'm not sure who manufactures this, but it's a really nice wagon, and you have all your planking set in there. And let's see. So when I was working on some layout stuff over at the club, this one fella gave me a box of like 24 of these plastic wagons that I thought it was a very nice gesture, but I thought, man, I'd never be able to use these. I think they're Kibri. They've been listed as Prieser. So maybe one of you all can put the finger on that one, but.
Roscoff?
Who?
Roscoff?
Roscoff?
I think that was the original one.
Oh, man, I didn't even see that name come up anywhere.
Yeah, Roscoff did a lot of wargaming material in 187.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Roco was the other 187th.
Right.
A lot of their stuff is more up towards World War II. However, World War II, the Germans used a heck of a lot of horses, like 9 million.
Right. So this is our version of the support wagons for the pontoons. As I said, I have canvas pontoons. So I just converted this. These are canvases that were made out of, were these styrene, DC?
Oh, gosh.
Could
Probably.
have been that. You could use almost anything, just to like folded up canvas. And there's that original wagon I was telling you about that would have carried the planks. There's a toolbox on the top. And this is our version that DC made.
I did?
Oh no, I did, didn't I? That's
You
right.
did, yeah.
I forget, man.
Trying to give me credit for everything tonight.
Right.
Based on your layout, you don't remember who made the wagon on like, come on, Tom.
Right, I know, Paul, thank you. Thank you for the bail. Oh, by the way, this is one of those, I think it's a GHQ wagon back here, that little, which is N scale, but it kind of fits in the scene, so I just left it in there. So another area is around communications, right? So you had your telegraph, another cool wagon to model, or kit bash or alter from another wagon. And then you had the signal corps.
Sure.
So I mentioned, earlier on that the caption under this photo just said Lances. Now, maybe they didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I don't know what these, I can't imagine these are flagstaffs, because that would have been a hell of a lot of signals.
Yeah, they used two flags. They used a white red and a red white.
Right.
And they used a number code, so it was more like a clock. And they only held one flag up. At night, they used a torch.
Right. Well, do you have any idea what this wagon is hauling?
Do you think it could be poles used to make a temporary tower?
Yep, is probably what it is. I used to own the Communications Electronics Museum at Fort Monmouth, so that anything I know I owe to my curator lecturing me. Okay.
Right.
But we collected a lot of that stuff from the early 60s.
But that looks like it's one that could be easily or relatively easily scratch built, if you're looking for some diversity on your layout or your diorama.
Tom?
Yeah.
The Lances were temporary telegraph poles.
Is that Union or South, Tom, or was it both?
This was US.
But did the Confederates have similar?
Wagons, I don't know, but they certainly had the same flags that Joel was talking about.
Yes, the Battle of Bull Run, the famous message, "Your flank is turned," was done from the signal tower of the Confederate Army.
Ah,
But these
Okay, they saw it and then they signaled.
right.
And the North Carolina guys went out and stopped the assault.
Right.
And history began to change. But yeah, they
Yeah,
used to say,
Don.
These wagons had nothing to do with flags, though. These were telegraph poles for temporary ones,
no.
like field telephones. You
Oh,
stuck them in the ground, you strung wire.
because it looks like these are pointed on the ends.
It's like
Yeah.
on the ground.
they would, because all you would do is hook a wire on it. There's
Yeah.
a single wire,
Ah,
the single
makes
wire system,
That makes sense.
mechanical repeater.
right.
It wasn't anything to lose. It's kind of like the field telephone system, like in World War II or One. They just strung the wires wherever they could and hope that nobody broke them.
Yeah, I could see that, them putting these in as a temporary move and then coming back and then maybe installing some trees or poles or what have you if it was going to be more long term. Okay, good. Thank you, Don.
Tom, if you look it up, it's called a K2 Lance wagon, which was actually used for just what they said for the setup of telegraph lines.
A K2 Lance wagon. Ah,
Used all the way into World War I, where they actually would set up battlefield telephone communications using them.
wonderful. Okay, so now I see why they had the term Lance under this. Good, thank you. So this was the partial list. Well, actually, it's everybody that I found. The ones on the left are the ones I was more familiar with. The ones on the right I never really heard of before that would make wagons. And Outland was like, now some of these only produce like one or two specific things that are relative to our era. But like Joe was saying, Rocco, I was surprised with how many things they had. Shapeways has got a load of wagons and vehicles.
Yeah, DMS does a really good job. He has like 33 combinations of wagons.
DMS?
DMS in Shapeways. It's a Shapeways store.
Okay.
He has both HON and some stuff in S. I don't know if he's got anything in O, because O gets awful expensive in Shapeways.
Gotcha.
Their pricing model for the amount of material.
Right. All right. So
That was DNS, like Dog Dancy Sam.
No, Dog Mike Sierra.
Say again, please.
Delta Mike Sierra.
Okay, thank you.
So these are just going to be some flashes around period vehicle and things that you might find. Like Jordan are beautiful, of course. I built two of the about dozen or so that I had. Then I handed them all over to Marty Vaughn, and he built the rest of them for me. I just didn't have the patience. But that one came out pretty good. Buckboards. Again, I saw this labeled with Prieser, and I think it's Kibri, but I don't know. A little paint job. And of course, Jordan makes their version of a beautiful little buckboard. And then here's a Prieser, again, or Kibri delivery wagon. And then there's one of the fellas in our club, Paul knows him, Bob Judge. He made the decal for me. For some of you that are familiar with one of the most viewed images of Atlanta, where it says the slave auction on Peachtree Street, this China Glass in Queensware was the store next door. So he just took the fonts and created a nice little decal that folded right around it. It was great. The horses, of course, are bogus. You got to replace those unless you stick them in the background someplace. Beautiful farm wagon, again from Jordan. And here's their light delivery. Again, Bob Judge from the club. I told him about the Intelligencer, and he made the decal for this wagon. JL, never heard of these guys. This was a wagon that was sent to me by my buddy Ken Pruitt when I bought all of his W&A equipment, and this was one of the wagons that was in there. It's a metal casting. These clearly are out of scale, but it's a beautiful little wagon. I've never seen it before, and it's just tucked away behind the church.
You can get those from Sully too.
Sully?
Selley, is that right?
Yeah, silly. They handle some pretty, I don't know, thick, I'd call it thick metal castings and stuff.
Yeah.
But they've been around since the 50s and probably still using the same tooling.
That's two that I haven't heard of before. Thank you. And then this one, it looks like a JL. You know, the wheels, the caps, the heavy tongue or whatever that thing is, but it's actually a plastic, and I don't know who the manufacturer is on that, but it's a cool long wagon. Some offbeat stuff. This is the one I mentioned earlier. This is GHQ, that little covered wagon. It's one solid piece except for the wheels. And this was a cool wagon. Again, it came with Kenny Pruitt's stuff, but I found out that it was made by Bush. It's a kit, and it's a plausible. I don't know. Did they really pull water wagons around during the Civil War?
Yes.
They did. Okay.
I think that was supposed to be a manure spreader originally.
Probably. That's my story, and you're sticking to it, right?
This wagon?
I think so. It's marketed as a manure spreader.
Wow. Okay.
As we call it in Germany, the mist is strong today.
Right. So I'm showing you this because, you know, most of you know Musket Miniatures and what they do, but when I started putting reins on my teams, I was looking around what they did with oxen, and I saw a number of images where all the guy had was a staff or a switch that he would use, I guess, to like tap one side or the other. But I didn't see any oxen with any reins, so I just modified it. Again, a little nuance of a detail. I started really getting heavy into like doing reins. They just look so cool. This is just some black thread woven in and attached with some CA to the gentleman on the driver's side. This was a cool batch of carts that I believe I'll do it again. DC, I think this was you who turned me on to these.
Yeah.
And you have these 8 little carts, and you can even modify these. I've even cut some of this down just to make it a lower bed. And I'll show you a couple here. This was the original model, and then I cut this down because in the mill that I'm making, there's this one painting that Jerry shared with me, and it's just a cart. It might have had a post on the end to keep it from tipping like that, but this would have been a metal plate, and this is what they would have used to haul the hot iron out of the furnace and bring it on over to either the steam hammer or the roller. There's the little carts, and this could be filled with tools. I have one next to an engine house that's loaded with tools and debris. This I've just loaded up with firewood, and it sits by one of the hotels. And I got 2 or 3 of these. There's a couple of them on the depots. Blue Rail, never heard of these guys, but it looked like a cool wagon. And it's interesting that you guys said manure. The way they had this titled was, this was a manure wagon. I'm like, okay. And I guess that's, I don't know if you have to make your own or if that comes with it.
Of course.
But it's a cool wagon, right? Do you have any? So looking at that, can anybody guess who you think that the manufacturer might be?
Prieser.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Prieser makes one like it.
yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the oxen. They look like Prieser.
Okay.
Yeah, I've made the wagon from Prieser.
Got it. And there, like I said, there's a plethora of 3D stuff. The one on the right is Shapeways. I don't know who this is, but I think this is an O scale 3D. But as I mentioned earlier, Shapeways does a load of different cool vehicles. And here's your loose wagon load I showed earlier. And there's I want to come back to that. So where it came from, here's a little piece of trivia for you guys. So there's the Mardi Gras float, right? What do you think this was called if you didn't see the image earlier?
Trail?
No.
A cotton float, no.
Yes, that's exactly right. Interesting. I don't know where they got that name, but this was called a cotton float. And when I was looking at the genealogy of this was the forerunner of the float, because as these were just sitting around, when Mardi Gras came, somebody chose to use one of these for their floats. And that's where we call our floats from our holiday parades these days. The float is from a cotton float. I thought, wow, that was pretty interesting. So you were right, Joel. You win the prize for the evening. Whatever's coming to you will be in the mail next week.
Here's to you. I'll just have another sip of coffee.
Okay. Right. All right. And then, of course, the hearse. Jordan makes a very cool hearse. The period buggy. I think I might have showed you this, but oh no, there's the kits. And there was a ton, as you guys know, there's a load of Jordan wagons that are very appropriate. Here's your period photographer wagons. This is one I believe Marty Vaughn did for me. He took a Musket miniatures and then he did some detailing on it. And that sits on the layout over at Big Shanty. What else? I have more? Okay. Yeah, I thought that was what I liked about this, it just gave you some nuances around different elements of this. What was that, Joel?
I said a Studebaker.
Exactly. That's right. Everybody knows about the Studebaker story, right?
Yeah, I was just looking at a Studebaker chuck wagon.
Yeah, that's how they got started, building wagons.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's restoring an old one to make into a chuck wagon. So.
Okay, got it. Right.
Yeah.
Stagecoach. This one was a cool one. Medical supplies. I actually have another image that I didn't get in here in time, which is it has a top and sides, and it has a series of compartments, like large cabinets with storage for the different medical supplies. Another possible detail. So anyway, this is just identifying the names of some of these things and the manufacturers and the scales that they produce. 77, yeah, like I said, most of them are HO. Blue Rail, that's right. They had some O scale work. And I think Musket Miniatures, of course, is doing O scale now, but nothing in big production. So anyhow, that's it, gentlemen. Thank you.
Yeah. Good job.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Great.
Thank you.
Cool. It was fun really doing the research.
It's real helpful to me, Tom, because I haven't done anything on wagons yet.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah.
if you got a minute, I've got some insight into harnessing I can show you. If I can share the screen.
Man, if you're going to show me something I'm going to have to redo, I don't want to see it.
Show it, show it. Show it to him.
Do I have share? Can you guys see this?
Oh, wait, let me make
Not
sure.
yet.
Try it now.
Okay, now let me. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
No,
No.
Okay.
I just see you.
Gotta find the right layout. I think this is the one. Can you see this?
No.
No.
Okay, I gotta figure out how to share it. Okay, I'm punching my share screen button, Tom. Is what?
You should get a bunch of screens that you have open. Click on the one you want to show, and then there's another button that says share screen. So you have to push share screen twice. but they're in different locations, if that makes sense. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, can you see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, this is taken off the drawing I'm using for the military supply wagon, the 1855, and they have some nice harness detail. And you've seen on those wagons, they've got the tongue in the center. Well,
That's what it's called.
it would
right?
have a, this piece here that my cursor is on is called the double tree.
Yep.
And then you'd have two single trees.
Oh,
And if they were
right.
if they were harnessing up six mules, for example, this double tree bolted to the tongue of the wagon right near the seat of the wagon, near the wagon. So the mules were alongside the tongue. So the first pair of mules, as they turned, would actually turn the tongue, which steered the wagon.
Right.
Then they would run, the harnesses from the mules would attach to these rings. So you had two mules side by side. And then the second set would attach to the ring on the end of the tongue of the wagon. And then they ran a chain forward from that if they had the third set of double trees and single trees for the for the fifth and sixth mules. And the way they steered the mules was they had the driver either sat on the forward left-hand mule and steered him with reins,
Right.
or he sat on the seat of the wagon box and had a single rein running along the left side of the team to the front mule on that side. And in my reading, apparently he had a system of pull gently or pull hard to let the mule know whether to go left or right.
Wow.
And the rest of the mules would follow him around, whatever he did, because that was the lead mule. So this is how they hooked them up to get the load transmitted back through the harnesses to the actual chain and tongue of the wagon.
Got it.
And that was on one where they had multiple horses, or multiple mules. So it's a little different than what you showed, but those traces coming back didn't go all the way back to the wagon. They went to the trees.
Right.
Which I never knew before either until I started trying to do this wagon, which is really pretty complex.
I heard too that mules are smarter than horses. Is that true?
Yeah, they are kind of. I've got a friend of mine who raises mules, and they're a lot different than horses. They look sort of like horses with big ears, but they're different.
Right.
Different personalities too.
Yeah.
He says they're a lot gentler. I don't know. My experience with horses is one end kicks and the other end bites. But
Yeah.
First thing I ever rode was a mule.
Right.
Because that's what they put the kids on.
Yeah.
Good.
I was about 3. First thing I remember, and I remember scared to death of that big thing.
I love them actually. Good. Don, are you ready?
Real quick, I'll see if I can find this. But there was an article in Model Railroader, and I have it someplace in my archives on detailing wagons.
Yes.
And I can't remember, someplace I have it, but one of the things they used for reins was to use architectural tape. Architectural tape.
Right.
And it's
I think that's Don's article.
Is that Don's article?
Now that was actually, I think it was, what's his name? Cody. He built a wagon. I think he used architectural tape. I use fishing leader.
Okay.
And it's very small, and you'll see some in these. I don't have as fancy a presentation as Tom, but I've got a number of pictures. So let's see if I can do this. There we go. Now most of my wagons are Jordans, and I like them because they were, when I was starting this, they were readily available and they yielded good thing. Now this is one of their farm wagons that I've cut down to make it just a local delivery wagon. And in this case, they're hauling a piano with one guy goofing off at the music bar. Now you can see these are the reins that I'm using with the fishing leader. I just use some CA adhesive to hold them to the horse and then just drape them back sort of normally.
So it's like the filament wire line?
Yeah.
Oh,
What's the word for it? Something to do with the spider. I can't remember the exact thing. But you buy one roll and you have a lifetime supply for you and 10 of your friends.
right.
Now this is another Jordan wagon, cut down, but not quite so much, for just a little bit of a different style.
A different change too.
And
You do
another
your
one,
own decals, right, Don?
yeah. This is kind of the same thing, but is like the one before. It had like the boards here turned out a little bit.
Right.
Yes, I just eliminated them. You just
Wow.
get a different, little bit of variety in there.
Right.
And here's another one. This one's with coal on a scale.
Nice. No reins on that one, huh?
Which one? The first one here?
On the coal.
No, I was lazy that one. That was an early model. Usually what I do is the ones that are going to be up close, I do the full reins. The ones that are going to be back, more of a suggestion. And this one wasn't intended to be in the foreground, but it ended up it was. So.
I like the proprietor.
What?
I like your proprietor of the coal facility.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that was one in the town I'm modeling. It's actually a real name. Now, this is another Jordan farm wagon, but I just used some styrene sheet and built up the side so it looks more like a freight wagon.
Wow. Nice.
That's easier to do. And I used a piece of tissue and put it over the top and put a thin wash of something or other on it.
I could bring that there.
And there you have that. And this one is I left the sides off entirely and got a lumber wagon.
Oh, yeah.
And this is based on a picture of a couple of real ones that I'd seen.
Cool.
Now this again, you'll recognize as the Jordan light delivery wagon.
Yeah, wow.
And I think the difference here is just the way you paint it and what you put on the side of it. This was a soda wagon, so I figured it had to be kind of nice, and it lists their entire product line. And they were making soda in the Civil War, so that would be a very appropriate industry to have in town. And here's just another one, a grocery wagon. This is a Lindsay wagon from United Kingdom.
Wow.
And it's a little big, but hey, it's a big wagon in HO, not a medium-sized one. Again, I was lazy into putting reins on that one.
Is that the original horse?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I think it's maybe a Jordan horse.
Okay.
Here's a couple of wagons based after a photograph. Makes a good load. They had to be shipped from the manufacturer to wherever it's going, and that's what these are.
Nice.
I didn't bring that one, the batteries.
And there's another one, different ones that can't all made from the same wagon, but all have a slightly different appearance. And there's my traveling photographer's wagon.
Oh, nice.
Photographer busily at work in the background.
Oh.
And these are Jordan, your standard delivery wagons. More Buffalo Brewing Company. But,
those are Jordan?
Yeah. But I think so much of it is painting. It's a little fiddly when you start making multicolor. I think I have one wagon here that has 3 different colors on it. And that's a lot of tiny masking, but hey, you only do it once and it comes out to be kind of distinctive and nobody else is going to have it.
Right.
I think it's worth it. Now, the medicine show, that's been around since there's been people,
right.
Basically. So,
Dr. Workins.
This again was just one of the standard delivery wagons that Jordan puts out. I put a little stage with a curtain around it, a bunch of bottles from Prieser. They had one with bottles and kegs and that, so I just put those around and named it after one of my operators, who happens to be a very prestigious cardiac surgeon in town. Does mostly heart transplant stuff.
I guess that's a tribute to him of some sort.
Yeah, he liked it. Now this is, I don't remember who this was, but this was, one of the kits. I did a search on Google just for HO scale wagons. It came up with tons of different manufacturers of them.
Yeah.
Most of which I'm sure you captured in yours, Tom. But they're easy to find. And I did one for a friend in O gauge. He said, "Do you know where to find these wagons?" I did a simple search and came up with half a dozen makers. There's another wagon. Again, I don't know the manufacturer of it. It was an oddball. And I didn't do the decals on this one. This was an Art Griffin design. But
That's neat.
That is.
It's nice anyway. And here's a little one that I did based on a picture. Just one. This is another kit. Someone makes a little dairy wagon, so I just put my own name on it. This is another scratch built one, and this again was based on a Watkins delivery. You're all familiar with Watkins, I presume. If you're not, go look in your cabinet. You probably have some Watkins vanilla in there. They're still around, and they made all sorts of different things.
So Don, you scratch built that one?
Yeah.
Based on a prototype?
Yeah.
Wow, nice. And are those just Prieser wheels or wheels you get someplace else?
I think those are Jordan wheels. Some of the Jordan kits have extra wheels in them.
Right.
And so I save those, of course, and use them on stuff like this. This is a Prieser. Figure a friend of mine gave it to me, but hey, you're hauling hay somewhere, you've got a couple of oxen, and it works.
Yeah.
This is something I like.
Oh, wow.
Most things didn't come in one each. They came in a bundle of them. And what I wanted to show was piping being hauled up to a mining community. And you would see pictures of stuff like this. And so I got 3 wagons together, and they were of varying manufacturers. Most of them they weren't Jordan. I can't remember who they were. They could have been Prieser or Merton.
They look at, yeah.
But, the main thing was to get the idea, okay, here's a bunch of piping going somewhere.
Right.
And if you notice the wagon in the background.
Yeah.
It's a Conestoga wagon. I can't remember the maker of it, but you find them all over eBay. You get that and a fire truck, an old-time steam fire engine for about $7. And they're very simple. What I've done is on several of them, I cut off the wagon. It comes in 2 parts. One half has the
canopy,
the bottom and the cover. The other half is on the other side. So I just cut off the 2 halves and ended up with a nice little freight wagon. No bows in it or anything, but it's a little different. I had about 3 of mine inherited from somebody, so I said, well, what can I do with these? And they also come with the stagecoach. I thought it's usually a stagecoach and the Conestoga wagon. The stagecoach is not bad if you dress it up. I don't think I have a picture of that one in the show here. We'll see.
Oh,
here again, here's another one. I don't know who made it. It was all laser cut.
Wow.
And just a matter of assembly. I didn't do anything special, not even reins on this one. Now this was based on it's a dray. They use them in cities. You can see how low they are. And it was basically for carting stuff around where you had basically decent roads, because they were so low they weren't going to go out in a country road with ruts. But you could haul, machinery and anything. So that was low enough you didn't have to lift it very high if you,
Right.
which is good if you're a drayman. And of course, you can't have just one. So I had about 3 of them backed up. We loaded up with various and sundry things.
Do you know the origin of that word, that term?
Dray?
Yeah.
Not offhand, no.
Okay.
And of course, there's a Prieser buckboard coming out of a wagon manufacturer. Now, this is just the Jordan Buggy, but something you see in photos, but not too often. Usually, well, the way you get the Jordan kits, you can have it with the top up, or you can have it basically without a top. But a lot of times what you had were people that were really kind of lazy, because it takes a little bit of work to put these tops up and down, having done them. And so this one, you just kind of pushed it back. So it was still up, but it was just hinged over in the back.
Oh, the first convertible.
Yeah. Well, it was an easy thing to do. And
That's a cool idea. Yeah. Just for variation.
Now, this is a Berkshire Valley Buggy.
Right.
I don't like it as well as I do the Jordans, but this is a laser cut, but it's not a bad one. It's a fairly decent kit.
Yeah.
Now this is, you showed some stagecoaches. This is what they called a mud wagon.
Right.
And it was a sturdier one, a little bit cheaper than the Concord coach, like we're all used to from John Wayne movies and such. And you found a lot of this on the West Coast. This was modeled after a Henderson wagon. Their factories in Stockton, California, and they supplied most of the West Coast. Abbott Downing, the one with the typical Concord coach, took care of the rest of the country. And then there were all sorts of other ones too. But this was modified, or better, I shouldn't say it was modified from, I used pieces from the Jordan stagecoach to get these.
Yeah, like the, go ahead, DC.
Isn't there a member of our group who produces the mud wagons now? I can't remember. Isn't he over in
Be patient.
Oh, sorry, Don. Sorry.
No big deal.
The
here we are.
Yeah.
Well, this goes back to a California story about a fellow called Black Bart who had a career of holding up stage, mostly mud wagons, as it turns out. But anyway, this mud wagon is a laser cut kit, partially laser cut, partially 3D printed, and it comes from a fellow by the name of Nielsen in Sweden. I believe they're $18 postpaid from Sweden. They're a nice kit, very good instructions. They're really kind of enjoyable to put together. And, I like him. If you go to his website, which is 8-wheeler. Let me make sure. There's just a moment, please.
That's right.
There you're right. 8-wheeler or 8-wheeler models. 8wheelermodels.com.
Don, the canvas size that you have rolled up, did you have to put those on, or is that part of it?
Hang on, I'm trying to find my presentation. There we go. I'm trying to remember if those came with it or if I put my own on. I don't remember at this point.
You put your own on, Don. I know Hakan's kit, and yeah, you added the canvas.
Yeah, because he always had it. It still rains in California occasionally, and you had to have something to block the weather.
Right.
Nice. The decals I did myself. And if you want to do itty bitty decals, that's great and makes it look good in pictures. Very hard to see or read. You know, you can't read this. It says United States Mail, the destination, and all that, unless you get a good picture. But it's fun to do.
Hey, Don, these look like they could be just slightly modified to be ambulance
I think they probably,
carts.
I was thinking about that. I would have to look at some pictures.
Yeah.
I would modify this one a little bit. The next one I do, I'm going to, because I've got a builder's photo of a Henderson mud wagon. And if you go back to, oh, there it is, the one I was doing, it only has supports here.
Right.
Mr. Nilsson's has additional ones back in here. And I think I'm going to eliminate those. I've just got another kit of his to build, and I'm going to eliminate those in mine. But again, it's, you know, both would be correct. I've seen drawings for these that are based on.
I remember he does the 2-seater and he also does a 3-seater.
Well, this one had 3 seats too. It just, that was way too much leg room, believe me. They had a vent across there. And, you see these, this is an anomaly. Stages did not carry luggage on the roof.
Right.
That's a Hollywood thing. They carried it in the boot in the rear. Up in the front, they carried the valuables like the mail and the Wells Fargo box, or the Adams Express, or whichever express company was being used. Up on the roof was for passengers sat. So
where passengers sat?
Yeah. You would get, the way these were worked up, you had the driver sitting here. You had room for 2 more people on his seat. When you got up to the top, you could plant yourself here, and there was room for 3 more people right behind the driver and his passengers.
Wow.
You had 3 more inside in the front, 3 more in the back, 3 more on the seat in the middle, and then however many could hold on to the top. This was like, everybody ever ridden the subways in New York?
Right.
This was like this. That's where they got the idea. It was from stages. It wasn't like 3 or 4 people. How could you make money feeding 6 horses and
right. And paying a driver?
Paying a driver, maybe an assistant, and for hauling 3 or 4 people.
Right. Be an expensive trip.
Yeah, but I put this on up here just for the heck of it. It's moving, but I don't care.
Oh,
and if you have one, you've got to have a bunch waiting at the station. They're all going to go somewhere else.
Wow.
But you can see how the luggage was put together on the Concord coach. And you see the railing around here, and you see this railing that's partway back on the roof.
Yep.
That was all you got of a backrest of the 3 people that sat up there.
My.
And so I think, again, what makes this different is if you get the right thing. Again, Mr. Art Griffin, he made decals for the decorations. You can see them here on the Concord coach. They usually had a painting on the door, and they had various striping around the outside.
Right.
Wagons usually had the name of the company or the destination on the boot, and whatever else here, whatever they thought they ought to put in there. But you can get an idea of what it is. You can also see the more horses you add, the more spider webs you create with your fishing line or thread or whatever you're using. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, that's nice rigging, man. Wow. Oh, yes.
Fire trucks, there's pictures of them. This one happens to be a model of a Globe fire engine. You can still get the kits from SS Limited in, I believe it's Oklahoma. I do a Google search, it'll pop right up. It's kind of pricey, but somewhere along the line, I've got about 3 or 4 of them, and all are taking shape gradually.
Oh, you're building them all?
Yeah. But you can still buy them new, so it's not that big a deal.
More power to you. I did one for Tom.
I almost lost them.
This was a buckboard I lengthened to make a surrey.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got a couple with a picnic basket on the back, and they're going for a picnic somewhere.
Sweet.
Now, one of the things in the July 2015 model railroader, I did an article on horses and wagons and harnessing,
Right.
stuff like that. So if you have that, you might find something of use in there.
You said it was 2015?
Yeah, 2015. Now this happens to be a kerosene tank. It probably wouldn't have been seen during the Civil War, but they did have water tanks. And this was a pretty easy, this was a metal tank as opposed to the wood tank that you had a picture of, Tom.
Mm.
And this was just made from 2 Jordan kits. One of them was a Model A gasoline truck, and the other was parts from I think it was the farm wagon, and then a top from the buggy.
Right.
Over, and so
nice.
Anyway, with a little imagination and a bunch of pictures, or a catalog. Now that's a street sprinkler, keep the dust down. And this one is you really get ambitious. Jerry could do this. This is just 3D printed, and the lettering is authentic on the back, and that's some of the fun things to do if you have an unlimited amount of time and retired and like to use Adobe Illustrator, Corel Draw. You can come up with stuff like that.
Nice. So, okay, no, keep going. I'll save my question to the end.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's about the decals. So you have a lot of one-off decals.
Right.
So you put an 8x and an 8x11 sheet of paper of decal paper to print one decal?
No. What I do, maybe you can see this. I've got some decals I need to print. You see in the middle is what I'm printing. So I know where it's going to be on the paper. So what I do is I get a piece of decal paper and I scotch tape it to this paper. Then I run it through, and when it prints on the decal paper. So I don't end up wasting a whole sheet.
Was one. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Don.
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's good. I figured there was some trick you had.
Now, if you really want to have fun a little bit, you can do something like this. Anybody recognize this wagon? You've all seen it. I know that.
Marvel Comics.
Nope.
Wizard of Oz.
There you go.
Oh, right.
I was Professor Marvel right at the beginning of the movie.
Yes, Frank Morgan.
I took my grandkids to see it, and I thought, well, that'd make a neat wagon. So I got back and I did some Google search. I found some stills of the movie which showed the lettering. I did a little bit more research, and I found the original MGM drawings with the dimensions and the outline of the lettering, the colors. And with a lot more time and fiddling with various computer drawing programs, I ended up with that, which is definitely a one-off.
Yep.
Now we're back to the beginning. But one thing I wanted to show, and I'm going to have to say I'm going to have to stop sharing and start sharing again, I believe. So, I was here a minute ago. There it is. Harnesses. If you've got one horse, it's pretty straightforward. You had one rein on either side and went back to the driver, pull left, pull right. Very straightforward. If you had 2 horses, Oh, I didn't put a 2-horse up here. 2-horse gets, hang on a minute. There we go. Nobody can see that yet, I presume.
Not yet.
Not yet. So it'll get there. Yeah. Where is it? Just a second. Oh. There it is. There's your 2-horse. You still have 2 reins going to the driver, but then you have reins that are connected back up in the middle here.
Right.
And they go through loops on the collar. So you still have pull left, pull right. That's pretty straightforward. And then if you have 4 horses.
Did you make that drawing?
Yeah. What happened to my 4 horses? Like they only have, huh. Hang on a second.
Two. Oh, there it is.
There we go. There's, you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's your 4 horses. And you get, now you get 4 ribbons to hold on to if you're a driver.
Right.
And again, they're hitched up as what Jerry was saying. And that's fun. And then when you decide you want to do a coach, you can do this.
Wow.
So you get 6 reins, and you go kind of nuts doing all that kind of stuff. It's like rigging a sailing ship.
Right. Yes.
After a while, you know.
Yes.
I have one wagon with 6 horses. That's probably all I'm ever going to have.
You're not going to do a 20 mule team?
I did that once. However, my dad did it while I watched him when I was about 5 years old. I
Wow.
do have one of the old US Morex 20 mule teams, though, at O-Gauge, I might do at some point. But anyway.
One thing I haven't seen from anybody is multiple horses across one line. 4, 6, 8, even 10 horses all side by side. They were used for hauling extremely heavy things. I've seen several photographs of them. That would be something different to put on some display.
I've seen about 40 horses on a harvesting machine for wheat. And that was enough. I don't know how you kept control of those.
So these would actually be standing side by side?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're tied up in 4s with fixed, I think, trees.
I see. And that would be pulling like what, Dave?
Big, heavy objects. I forgot now what they're talking about, but I've seen advertisements in the New Orleans newspaper just before the war, heavy hauler, and there's a drawing in the advertisement of, I think it's 8 horses across.
Wow.
And there were other big ones like that I've seen pictures of.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's a lot of work, but then when you have someone that comes in, like I have a couple of friends whose wives are, have horses and whatnot, and they go and look at the rigging, they just go nuts over it. But
well, it's good that you have people that come by, that when they come by, those that can appreciate it, they look at that and they're marveled by the quality of the detailing. That's a reward in and of itself.
that's what we all try to do, I think.
I got a question on the colors for Don and Tom. I noticed most of the wagons were yellow or red, even the chassis. Is that historically accurate, or just to make it?
No, that was historically accurate from what I get, but they had greens also, mostly reds, yellows, and greens.
Okay.
Wheels in particular, I've seen them different colors. You could have a black buggy and one would have green, one would have red, one might have black, might want to have yellow. Yep.
Yeah,
Wagon wheels were typically the same color as the structure, or the wheels could be different.
no,
They can be different,
no,
because
Studebaker was
quartermaster quite frequently in artwork from the time where like The Eye Before the Storm, I can pull that one out. But he always pictures the quartermaster wagons as blue with red in the wheels or the axle. And he was painting contemporary.
Mm.
His stuff is not necessarily the most gorgeous, like he was more a map maker and a draftsman, but he did a lot of scenes, and a lot of his scenes were in turn reproduced by Harper's. And it's really funny how dressed up, they would take his field sketch and how it would, when they made the woodcut from it, it was really dressed up. Where the professional woodcutters would take his little thumbnail sketch of what he actually saw on the battlefield.
And elaborate it, yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
I can pull some of his pictures up, because early in the war, when he was on Heinzmann's staff as his staff map maker, he did a lot of rear area sketches of where Heinzmann was at. And he collected all of those works. They were in a family trunk, and a couple of years ago they got found and then subsequently published.
Cool.
But one of these, if you want, I can pull some of those out, and we can take a look at some of the scenes from the war.
Gotcha. All right.
Let
So
me share one other thing with you before we get off this. Something you don't see very often. That's a builder's photo of the mud wagon I modified at Henderson Company. And you can get an idea of, how decorated they were with the little whoop-de-doos here in the back. And
oh yeah.
then, of course, your destinations, U.S. mail.
Right.
So they're kind of a neat thing, but I think the thing that sets most of these things off, whether it's wagons or buildings or whatever, is being able to get some unique signs. And you need the right computer program to do the artwork, and then you need some way of printing decals.
How about if you know somebody that has the right artwork stuff and knows how to do that?
Maybe even better.
You just pull out your pinstriping brush and go to town.
It's like you never want to own a boat, right? You just want to have friends with boats.
Well, no, Testers.
We all know Jerry. He has a boat.
Yeah, right.
Testers makes a decal kit for making inkjet decals.
Oh.
You basically print it on your inkjet printer, and then you spray some fixative over so that when you dip it in the water, the ink doesn't just dissolve and go every which way.
Right.
And they work rather good. You can get multiple colors without too much trouble. And the only bad thing is because all these colors are more or less transparent. Anything you put them on adds another color to that mix. So you have a nice blue decal, you put it on a yellow wagon, and all of a sudden your decal is green.
Right.
You can solve that by putting it on a white background.
Right.
Or you can, I wouldn't recommend buying an Alps because they're just too hard to get and supplies are too expensive these days. But
right.
But there is a laser printer that's out there that if you need a color laser printer, look on the Ghost printer, I think they call it, where it has a white cartridge that will go in a great number of different laser color printers made by HP and Canon and so on. They have a whole list on there which ones that work, and you can get the same results. So
yeah, because it's white decal paper. It's all white on the background.
yeah, which is great if you got a white wagon you want to do or a white background. But if you If you want to put it on a blue background, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a lot of money. That, you know, a good printer like that is 2,000 probably and up. So
Right.
unless you need one of those, it's hard to justify going out to get them. Well, I want to make
A couple of
half a
decals.
dozen little wagons with cute decals. So
Good. Don,
anyway.
thanks so much. Thank you, man. That was great.
Great job, Don. I love the how you steer. I now have a lot more respect for Prince Philip, who he was a competitive six in hand driver.
Oh, that's a real.
Yeah, I now have a lot of respect for him. That's what you do when when your wife's the queen. I guess you can go out.
Well, I've got a book.
All these hobbies.
I've got a book at home which is reminiscence of a stage driver in the Sierra Nevada mountains in the 1800s, and he talks about how it is to handle a six-in-hand team. Right. It takes a lot of skill.
Of course, of course.
They used to be the guys who do it on movies and that. They know what
Maybe
they're doing.
I'll see if I can rig that up for our next in-person meet. Somebody that can drive us around, and we'll take turns in learning how to do that.
I was really hoping we would get a locomotive.
We'll do both. We'll do both.
Yeah, I already know how. I know how to fire. It's hot, and you just keep moving.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Well, speaking of locomotives, I think DC's got a couple of short video clips he wanted to show off of his recent trip out to, like, what was it, Harrisburg?
It's Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. There's last week when I was playing around with the YouTube videos, I came across a new tourist railroad. I'm not sure. You may be familiar with it. It's the Harrisburg, Lincoln, and Lancaster Railroad. It's a real short run right now. It's going to, but let me show you the videos.
Great.
Okay. And which one do it? Oh, I lost one. We'll try this one. That's the color of the smokes because it's now burning oil rather than the original wood.
All right. This is, there's a, what is that? There's a setting that you can, I forget where it is, so that it just runs smooth. This is similar to what we were experiencing with Chris Gerlach when he was trying to do his virtual. It's like, it's like flipping through a stack of photos.
Oh, you're having problems with it?
Yeah.
Right now, it's because of the videographer slipping on the stone.
Yeah, it's just choppy, but that's a good look. What's the name of that locomotive?
It's the 331.
Oh, that's that.
It's actually, I think, an 1866 replica.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a guy that did that and two others, and I can't think of his name.
Name was Clokey.
Yeah,
Dave
Clokey. He builds them outside
in Indiana.
Yeah, he builds them outside of in Elgin.
Elgin, Illinois.
Yeah, I've been inside of his factory.
Yeah, this is his old Leviathan.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
When they bought this locomotive, they decided they wanted to make it into Pennsylvania 331 because that's the engine that hauled the Lincoln funeral train.
Oh.
And they also have the Clokey's Lincoln funeral car replica too.
Yeah, I was going to show you that. You can get.
Did that Clokey fellow also do the York?
Yes, he did.
He did.
Yeah, that's one of the other ones. Yeah. There's one more, and I can't think of it.
Yeah. This one is copied from the Jupiter replica at Promontory Point.
Yep.
Ah.
You can tell.
I'm going to stop the share there. Let me see about, it's still going on?
No,
Oh, hang on.
the York is the one we got the ride when we did Gettysburg, right, Jerry?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
the one
I was
that,
there.
what do they call it? Steam into history.
Yes, that was cool. Oh,
Let me see if I can play this one for you. I've got some others here that's kind of cool. It's too bad it's choppy. But this is the Lincoln funeral car.
Not showing up. DC, are you still there?
I'm still here.
oh, okay.
It's not showing up.
It's not showing up.
No.
All we see is your
white-
screen with the other
Oh, shoot.
videos.
Okay, let me, I'll get out of this thing.
What we have here is a failure to communicate.
Oh, man. Let's see. Let's see, you're sharing. Stop the share. Let me hit share screen again. It worked. It worked in the test run.
Take two.
No, this is the same one.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have a small problem, so we will have to forego that. I'll go ahead and post them on my blog. If anybody wants to see them, you can go there.
Right. Okay, good.
What's your blog, DC?
Okay.
All your bluff, huh?
It's a secret. Delaware Central Railroad. It's at the blogspot.com. I can share that with the group too. I'll post the link. I think it's Delaware Central Railroad at blogspot.com.
Illinois Central, did you say here?
Delaware. I'll have to.
Delaware.
Look it up and I'll post it.
Oh, okay.
I'll post it to the group.
Very good.
But it was fun being able to ride in the 1860s. They were replicas, but the coaches and see some of the interior details and how things were put together. And I got way too many photographs that day, but next time the videos will be better. But it was only $10 to ride, so I figured I can't beat it.
I'll tell you a funny story. My wife's a quilter. And back in January, we figured out what we're going to do this year. And there was a quilting convention in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And she said, well, I don't know that you'd want to go with me there, but I don't know what you'd have to do. And I said, you've got to be kidding. We got Strasburg and the Pennsylvania Railroad Museum an hour or so one way, and the other way you have the railroad you just went to. I said, I think I'll keep myself busy. And then we didn't go anywhere. So anyway.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely worth a trip on that York. That was fantastic. God.
So, John, you were saying this engine used to be the York? Oh, okay.
That's a different.
It used to be the Leviathan, right?
It used to be the Leviathan. That's the name that Clokey gave it.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So that's where it came from. Because I know their coaches and stuff. A lot of times they're trying to build it up. Next year they say they're supposed to extend the track 2.5 miles. I mean, the trip was only about less than 30 minutes, but they tell you about there's narration as you're going through, and getting to walk through the Lincoln funeral car was, I realized that was important to me. So
Cool. So we got a few minutes left. Is there anything anybody like to share about anything you would like us to know about what you're working on, or any projects? Do you have any questions for any of the members?
Well,
I
I
do.
would say something. Just, Tom, in your list of manufacturers, you had Berkshire Valley, and I think Don showed one of their wagons as well. They've actually got a nice lineup of wagons that's available, maybe half a dozen or so. They've got 3 or 4 different horses, a couple of mules, I think maybe 4 drivers. And if you like that Studebaker sprinkler wagon, they got a kit for that too.
Wow.
Pretty cool. I haven't built any of them yet. I've got several of the kits, and they look nice. Maybe not as nice as Jordan, but they're available, and they're reasonably priced compared to what you would be paying for Jordan on eBay nowadays.
Right.
What's the name of that?
Berkshire or Berkshire?
Berkshire Valley.
Yeah.
Another thing, the fellow Hakan Nielsen, who makes the mud wagons, he also has in his Shapeways store, which again is 8-wheeler models, some horses that you can buy. So I bought a pair just to see what they were like, and they're pretty good. So another recommendation.
Rhett, did you want to say something?
I was, anybody know, this is the first time I've put cloth on the top of a railroad car. You know, it's an arched roof. And I wanted to know if anybody, what I did was I just add water to school glue, just regular kid paste. And I put it all on the top of the roof, and then I put the cloth on, and then I saw that the corners were kind of lifting. I just kind of put a layer of the really diluted glue over the top of the whole thing. Can you guys tell me, did I do this right?
Yes. I usually use Mod Podge, which is more permanent. Dates back to doing stuff in the 1960s, still colored like it's in the 1960s.
Right.
But it's a matte. They have a matte and a gloss. I use the gloss for water, and I use the matte for almost everything else.
Okay, well, so that's kind of similar, just diluting the.
It's PVA. It's polyvinyl acrylic. That's all they are. It's just the concentration.
Okay, yeah, I kind of just guessed at it, you know, doing it.
A touch of alcohol also helps with the initial flow, and it evaporates rather quickly.
Oh, yeah.
But it'll help with the initial flow. That's something I learned from ballasting. Just to put a drop of alcohol. It breaks the surface tension of the water and makes the glue go into the cloth.
Right.
Rather than sit on.
Brett, are you using, this is for like a BTS roof?
Yeah, it's for the one that I had to put all the bars in the windows.
Okay.
The ventilated box car.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that some of the old Concorde car works, the way he had them, is you take a handkerchief, and you gotta make sure there's no pattern to it, and an old, you know, just linen handkerchief works pretty good. And just lay it over the top of the car, and you can flood it with wood glue or super glue. That's what I've used, and it makes an interesting canvas look to it too.
Yeah, well, this guy, I got the canvas look on this. I just use a pillowcase that I asked my wife if we had any extra linen, and she said no. And then I came down here and I found next to the computer there was a pillowcase that we were using for a while to cover the computer at night, and
well,
so
plot thickens.
Yeah, there's a square piece taken out of the middle of it.
It works.
The mice did it.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a little raggedy around the edge and say, well, I caught them.
Right.
That's one of those, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission.
It's a little easier to just just acknowledge that I don't know anything.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Just go, I must be sleepwalking again.
Right.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, anyway, I let the glue saturate all the way into past the edges, and so I guess now I'm going to cut the edges off with manicuring scissors. You know, the real little tiny ones that are really sharp.
Yep.
Okay.
When you're done, send us some pictures.
Okay. I will.
Cool.
Cool. Good. Well, gentlemen, it is 9:30, and it's amazing how fast this goes. So thanks
For
so much.
sure.
It's great to see you all. Glad to see you all healthy, and stay tuned for what we do in a couple of weeks from now, because I have no idea right now, but it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate it.
Very good.
Great.
Thanks,
Great to see
Dave.
you all.
thanks, Tom. Thanks, Don. Great show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Good job, Tom.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you. Bye, David.
Nice shirt,
Uh,
LeBron.
A very
See you,
nice
Charlie.
shirt.
Bye, John.
I'm jealous.
Hey, John? Oh, he went away.
Alright.
Never mind.
Hey,
DC, I know where you can get one.
Tom, quick question for you.
I've got his right here as soon as he comes up.
Tom,
Yeah,
you still
John.
there?
Yeah,
Ooh, maybe not.
I can hear you. John,
Yeah, looks like we're all gone.
I'm still here.
As a you for Tom and DC as owners of the online group, how do you guys feel about people advertising stuff for sale? Some groups I belong to, it's done frequently. I've been trying to downsize, and I have some items that might be of interest to the group.
Here's my only thing with
objection
that.
to listing
Well, I have
listing
a
those?
I
Can
have
you
a
hear
white
us? Wait a minute.
elephant
What do you
table
guys
folder
think?
set up.
Time out. John, can you hear us?
Pretty much.
Oh, okay, good. I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Yeah, DC.
I have a white elephant table set up. Generally, as long as we're not doing it real commercial, like when we were doing Al's stuff, trying to find homes for Al's stuff, you put a message out there. You have people contact you offline, so there's not, negotiating with prices and stuff. That's
Right.
the way we've
Well,
done it in the past. What,
yeah, well,
Tom?
This is not something I'm trying to make like eBay. Anything I have is going to have a price on it. First come, first serve. Contact me off list.
The only self-serving request I have is that you offer it to me first.
Oh,
Shoot him now.
I tell you what. I'll open it up. Offer it to these 30. Oh, what do you got?
Can you see that?
Oh, an armored B&O armored car.
This is a artillery wagon geschlossen mit 32 pounder
Wow.
by MGM Models of Sachsenstrasse 9 in Moers, Germany. It's in the really convenient scale of 1/72. How did I ever get this? I don't know. Something I won't use. But I've got some BTS kits.
You know what? Here's what.
Mantua coaches and things. Campbell
Really?
early day flat cars. Those are nice. For the
Well, it's like I said. As long as you offer it to me first, and I'll see what we should put out to the group, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I can do that.
Tom, we know where you live.
Yes, we do, Tom.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
oh,
Yeah.
the walls are closing in. Oh,
Hey, Tom?
Yeah.
Just remember that there's only one group moderator. Everything's just a click away.
wow. Okay.
I think I hear an uprising.
Right. I'll back off. I withdraw my request. Here's what I would think we should do then, maybe, DC, to support John in that. I think, John, what you might want to do is put the list together with the prices. And I think if it comes from DC, it kind of like has like an official, like, okay, versus you just doing that. And people start thinking, oh, let's do that. And then we get an onslaught of all that stuff. So I think as long as it's, what do you think?
Well, if
I
it's
don't have a
not
problem
something
with
that,
that.
if it's not something that you really want to see, you know, it can all go to eBay. I mean, I just thought that members.
Oh,
of the
no,
group
I want to
would
see
be
it.
Interested.
Yeah, well, I want to see it too.
All right, how about just the 6 of us? Show us what you got.
And anything you don't want will go on the list.
Well, I mean, I can do that. I'm not particular where the money comes from.
Right, right. How much? So, yeah, I'm thinking just put it out to the whole group, you know, to the whole IO group, and have your list. Ideally, would be if you had an attachment, list your stuff, the price that you want, and with your email address, and then people can contact you directly.
Yeah, I can do that. And people, the way that messages come through on different systems must be different. Most of the messages that I get, there's a reply to sender button at the bottom
Right.
that sends a private message. But
Right.
I don't think there always is, or a lot of people don't know how to use it or don't know it's there.
Correct. Correct.
Because on other groups, people will say, reply to me offline, and sure enough, half the people don't, you know, it goes to the whole
Yeah.
group.
Right.
Well, John, I had some stuff that I was trying to sell, and I did it just like that. I say, list what you have, list the price you want. Just decide how you want to do shipping. Was that going to be included in the price you want? I recommend that. It's kind of sometimes it's better to figure that out afterwards.
No, I put the stuff, put the price, plus shipping of your, I'll ship it any way you want.
Okay.
And
Okay. And then
put the price on. It's not, everything has a price. It's not best offer. You know, it's not eBay. That's auctions are for eBay.
Right.
And just then put your personal email there, and they're supposed to contact you directly.
Okay.
I have no problem with that. I don't think anybody in the group does, because it only comes up maybe a couple times a year at the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, when people on a group of which I'm a member, we all have a common interest. If they're selling something of interest to that group, I want to know about it because I need more stuff. Not trying to have less stuff, but I mean, it doesn't bother me to see stuff for sale. I don't think the group is going to turn into HOYardsale.com or anything, but
no, not at all.
It's just the occasional thing. And
well, I think the beauty of that is, like you say, John, you're marketing it to a group that already has an interest, you know.
Exactly.
So, and I think it's just a way to promote the hobby, promote the modeling, and you know, the community. So I'm all in. That's great.
Yeah, and I feel something of the group is a community of, you know, something of a community, and be happy that that stuff I had goes to somebody who can use it.
Yep.
You know, who appreciates it, knows what it is.
Yep.
And
wonderful.
If nobody wants to buy it because the price is too high, well, then that's my fault. And if people buy it within a second, that tells me the price was too low, and I guess that's my fault too.
Right.